But yet, they call it Con Edison, Toledo Edison, Southern California Edison. I thought that was interesting.
I know. Well, it's very interesting. Actually, he was one of the most interesting men on the planet. So if this is evidence of direct energy weapon use, people are responding to what they see with their eyes. They saw many things with their eyes. They saw this building turn to dust and disappear and go down in front of their eyes. They saw planes hitting the buildings. That's a whole other thing.
And airplanes can't destroy buildings, turn buildings to powder, so they're kind of a non-issue.
So how come most of the public accepts this story? Seriously, is it that it's too painful to look into? Is it too painful to examine because then it leaves us feeling helpless?
If you're in a crowd and the police yell, "Get down on the ground," you bet just about everybody gets down on the ground. They don't ask why. And in a terrorized situation, and that is traumatic for whoever was there, first impressions stick. And so if you're in this fear state and you're told the story, you accept it. And you don't want to look back because that means to relive the event. And so who wants to look back?
I would say most of us don't. And that's why I haven't done a show about this, because it took me a while to really gather the courage to be willing to look and open this up to the public. A lot of the people that have opened it up have issues with governments, have issues with leadership, and can't just look at the forensics as you are. I think you're incredibly courageous to do this. Haven't you had a lot of death threats or danger imposed on you?
When I started doing this, I was a faculty member at a major university. My mom said, if you start doing this, you won't have a career. My answer was, if I don't do this, nobody will have a career. I feel it's that important. If everyone knows about this technology, it kind of takes the power away of takes the games up. But as long as people, run in fear like cattle, an aspect that, for me, I almost lost my life at one point, so I know what that's like. And so I really can relate to these people who are like hanging outside of the towers, and I feel like I owe it to them.
That was terrible to watch them jump. It was tragic. What is this thing about thermite? Why were things 1,500 degrees 6 weeks after the event? I don't get it. What is that?
There's no evidence I've seen of thermite, and there's no evidence I've seen of high heat. There are things that glow. And as I like to say, hot things glow, but not everything that glows is hot. Think of a fluorescent light. It's not all that hot. But an incandescent bulb, you won't want to unscrew that with your bare hands. So just because it's glowing does not mean it's hot.
That's hard to get. Just because it's glowing doesn't mean it's hot. But it looked hot. The pictures I saw had orangey colors and
there's pictures of a firefighter walking through, this orange-looking flames, but the paper is not burning. The paper around these toasted cars isn't burned. I've got a picture of a car where the plastic molding around the window is still there in pristine condition. But, the bright work trim that goes around the window, that silvery kind of trim,
right?
It's gone. And the paint underneath that is all blistered up. And it looks like the car was totally toasted, and there's a seatbelt hanging by the window. Window's gone, but the seatbelt's in pristine condition, the cloth seatbelt.
So how did this whole thermite story come into the mix?
Oh, I could speculate that it's a cover story. The buildings were made out of steel frames with aluminum cladding. Thermite is powdered iron and aluminum. That's what the buildings are made out of. So, of course, that's where you're going to find the dust. We'd have something seriously wrong if you didn't find that in the dust.
Because I remember some people saying, well, thermite was added, and that's how the building pancaked down, and there's this whole story and something with popular mechanics, and I don't really get that part of the...
Thermite is a welding material. It melts things. And actually, the military has thermite grenades they use for starting fires. Like if you have an intruder and you have top-secret documents, you set one of these things off to instantly burn all the papers in your office to keep the bad guys from getting it.
Okay.
So, it instantly burns. But anything in a fine powder, like you've heard of flower plants.
No.
Flour mills having dust fires, dust explosions.
I haven't heard that.
Fine powder can get ignited, and that's why they use things like that. But thermite is used to weld railroad tracks. It doesn't turn things to powder.
Okay, I got it. So that doesn't explain how things turn to dust or powder.
Right, in mid-flight. You see, I call them wheat checks, those sets of 3 columns, 3 stories tall, spandrel plates across them. They're prefab units that the buildings were made out of. On the outside, you see those flying through the air, trailing humongous amount of dust. It looks like an Alka-Seltzer tablet. And before it hits the ground, it's gone. I've got a video of one of these huge wheat checks, a cluster of several of them falling towards an intersection, and a picture of the intersection right afterwards just has paper in it. It's like the thing melted like ice cream, in mid-flight. Almost like it was propulsion. That wasn't just dirty, windowsills putting out all that dust. It was actively, effervescing like a Alka-Seltzer tablet.
Haven't you heard the translation that what happened is like a dust plume?
It was more than a dust plume because it kept going up and up, almost like a tornado kind of, funnel. The pictures from the satellite images.
Right.
You see this whitish, yellowish, thing, and it makes it kind of a dog leg at some particular elevation. Then up above that, it starts dissipating. When you blow up a building with bombs,
yeah,
I like to use the Seattle Kingdom for an example because there's a lot of evidence on it. But I can name several other ones. The biggest building ever was, I think, the Sears or some warehouse in Chicago that was blown up. And all of those, the dust really doesn't go much above the highest level of the building. And then it just drops out, settles out. Like the Seattle Kingdom, they said, it gummed up downtown with dust for almost 20 minutes. And then it's gone. It's settled out. It doesn't keep coming up for months. I've got pictures in March where they're always hosing it down. They're saying it's fire, but if it was hot fires, when it rained, you should have steam explosions. If you have molten metal. Actually, West Street, the main drag on the west side of the complex, there was a broken water main, and the street flooded like a lake. And you had guys, walking through there up to above their knees, and they didn't look like boiled chicken. So I don't think the water was hot. And if there had been hot material there, Chernobyl blew up from a steam explosion.
I didn't know that.
When you get water and get it hot, it has to expand real fast. Yeah, it was a leak or something when they were doing a test in the wee hours. I guess water got to where it shouldn't be and got too hot, and boom.
What does this mean if what happened on a forensic level is that all those buildings came down through some type of direct energy weapon?
It's a new technology. We ought to see about using that for energy instead of drilling holes in the earth and destroying the Gulf.
Direct energy weapons have been around for a long time.
Right. There's, the lasers and masers and that type of thing. That's a different class.
Right.
But the interferometry type of energy, that's the way to go. Energy is in the air all around you. You just need to know how to tap into it.
What are you trying to get done with your work? What is it that you really want to make sure the public understands about what we witnessed on 9/11? Not the geopolitics, not the horror and tragedy. On a forensic level, what is the message to the public?
Look, we're usually kept so busy that we have to take somebody else's opinion for something, and that's gotten to the point that one person gives an opinion and it just ripples down. Everybody assumes that's what the story is. But if we all look with our own eyes, we can see, what's what. And hopefully it would be terrific if we could all get together